Hello, sports fans. Mauricio here. Well, before we get into editing our product list, so we've added a product, but before we edit them or delete one, let's go ahead and make a sale. So when you click on the sales page, you can pick the products from the list, but that's going to get pretty long. By the way, so new sale, we're putting so far we're putting the responsibility on the program user to tell it when it's a new sale, or to take off that checkbox to say, oh, I'm just adding more line items to an existing sale I'm working on, 10 line items. So we can think about that more. But for now, so why is that important? For now, we're making sure the program user knows that they have to select new sale and then unselect that when they're just adding more line items. Why is that important? Because you can have sale 10 with 5 line items. So it'll be sale 10 line item 1, sale 10 line item 2, sale 10 line item 3. And so we can't increment the sales invoice 10 because we don't know how many line items we have. So that checkbox new sales generates a new sales invoice 10, and the next one's 11, etc. So when they click that button, it generates a new invoice number. When it's not clicked, you're just adding another line item to your existing invoice, and it figures that out and puts the right number in the sale. But that is some responsibility we're putting on our program user. All right, so let's see what we can. So I thought this would be nice for the employee. So they click clothing and then filter it, and then the list just shows the clothing. And they click shoes, hit the button, and then it just shows shoes. So let's go ahead and sell. All right, so we'll get one shower slippers, and you could click this clear or not, as long as you make sure you take off the new sale. We'll get some more shoes. I like those red Pumas. Okay, I'm just gonna keep going. Oh, it went back. So shoes. Let's get some rubber slippers. And who doesn't have enough art in their life? I'll get dogs playing poker. All right, so I have 4 line items for sale 10. When you clear that, let's see what it does. So if you go over to the reports now, by the way, it updated these other reports we'll talk about in the next video. But sale 10 had 4 items for $158, and there's our 4 items. Now, I don't know, this is a very long list of all the line items, so I don't think we would do that, but I just have it there for now. But we can see that the line items were saved to the database, and so it's kind of save the row, refresh this screen, grid views. So very often you'll save a row and you'll say, hey, that didn't work. Well, maybe it did work, and maybe let's check if the database has been updated. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. We have our sales details table, and you can just right click, execute that, and there it is. So very often you may, so don't assume that your sales aren't being saved. Look at the database to see if they are. And If you do the extra mile and refresh your grid views here, in this case adding a summary, and in this case just appending all those records to the bottom, if you refresh your web page arrays, then you could see that it worked or didn't work, and then you wouldn't have to take a look at your database. But anyway, that's how you process a line item, and you can have many line items and then clear it out. And now let's take a look at the code. All right, so save line item underscore click. That's this one, save line item. And so again, we start out with some error checking. We have to make sure that they selected a product. We can't sell it if they don't have a product. We have to make sure that they typed in a quantity, how many they want to buy. And we have to make sure that quantity is numeric. All right, so there's a little complexity to this. Well, maybe this is the most complex one. Each part isn't complex, but there's 6 parts. So yeah, together it's all pretty complex. Featherman. All right, so we want to make sure we're getting the highest sale ID number. And we mentioned that we use a SQL command with this execute scalar function to go run this select statement and get back one number and copy it to a local variable. So how do we know whether to change the line item to keep it to the current highest number? That means you're just adding the line item to an existing invoice. And how do we know when it should be adding the next sale invoice number in the list? Increment that. So it came down to if it's checked. If it's checked, then add one to the invoice number. So if it's not checked, it's not a new sale, then just go get the highest number and put it in my variable. So we're using a variable now, which can either be increased, or we could just use the current value of the highest sale number. And if you do it that way, then when we save a row and fill the columns, you can just use this variable. It's not like, well, in some cases use this number, in some cases use this number. We handle that and use a variable to hold one number or the next, incremented or not incremented, so that when we save the line item, we just say, okay, give me that variable. But actually, it's not that tricky. So let me back up actually. All right, so we're gonna run a command to get the highest invoice number. Later on, we're gonna run a command to get the sales price. Both of these are going to be later inside the try-catch block. Command dot execute non-query, and then set that to a local variable. So we are not, or should I say, I'm the designer so far of this program. And when you're the designer, you listen to the needs of the manager or whoever's paying for it. So since I'm the leader, I said we are not allowing the sales reps to change the sales price. That requires a manager's override. So we're just going to retrieve the sales price from the products table for whatever product they selected. See that? For whatever product they selected in the drop-down list, products. So whatever product they selected in this drop-down list, we're going to go use that product ID, and So we show the product name and then we capture the product ID in the selected value. So we're going to use that selected value like product 6, and then we're going to go look up the sales price, for example, for product 6. The SQL command is going to take care of that for us, and so we're gonna go run that and then go get that. So we're going to supply the product ID and we're going to run that select statement, and then we're going to get the value back and put it in this local variable here. So you dim a local variable inside a procedure, and objects outside of the procedure are called public, shared, global, or page level. All right, moving on. We'll come back to this, but after we save the line item, we want to refresh the grid view. So we're going to, get all the line items for that sale, and then we're going to go update the products. And that's a whole nother discussion. But here we got to figure out the invoice number for the current line item. So open the connection, go ahead and get the highest invoice number. There's our execute scaler, which is running the select max sale ID. And if it's a new sale, go ahead and clear out all the line items from the array. So here's another array. So we're starting to have a lot of arrays here. Actually, watch this. 346. Yeah, so watch this. So you can split screen here and then scroll this one up. And just wanted to show we have a lot of arrays now. One for products, to save a new product. One for line items for the current invoice. The full line items for if we want to put that in a report. What else do we have? Later we're going to pull the product out and put it in its own array to edit it, to edit the record. And got other ones too. Oh, so these are all for reports. So we're going to run a stored procedure, and it's going to do a SQL group by query, and it's going to bring back condensed data managers like condensed data, totals by month, totals by customer, totals by product. So we'll run some SQL group by queries to get some condensed management reports, but you have to stick it in the array. Then the array is displayed in the grid view. So we're going to have a bunch of arrays, but this is pretty nice up here. All right. Oh, boy. Sorry. All right. Now, I would like you to type in the first sales line item. The code says select max sales ID. Well, if you have a sales details table with no rows in it, the select max, there is no max. So how can you select max off a null value? That's a complex problem. So that's why, and I don't even know if this works that well. Have not tested it completely. But what I wrote was, if it's null, so go get back, so here it is, go get me the highest sale ID. Well, if that's null, there are no sales ID, well then it's the first sale. So go set it to 1. I didn't test that completely. But if it's not the first ID, if the sale ID retrieved is more than 1, okay, so we've already had a sale. Go ahead and increment that. And if it hasn't, if the new sale checkbox has not been selected, we'll just use the highest number. And then we need to get the sales price, and these other items we'll take a look at. But now that we have the sales price and the sales ID number and the sales price, now we can go add a new row to the sales details table, and we'll pick it up there.